best to answer all your questions. You may also post your takeaways and learnings from the session in your social media accounts. Tag OASH and UPPSS and use the hashtag AshFirst2023. Please show respect to all participants and speakers. We reserve the right to remove any participant who exhibits inappropriate and offensive behavior. This session will be recorded. If you wish not to be included in the video recordings, you may turn off your video cameras. And lastly, be mindful of the language that you use when discussing with your fellow participants. So, trigger warning. This event relates to anti-sexual harassment and/or gender-based violence. Please expect that the talk will tackle sensitive issues. As we practice upholding safe learning spaces, please feel free to leave the webinar should you find a discussion too intense or disconcerting. You may rejoin us once you are ready to resume attending this webinar.
Now to our esteemed speaker who has been so generous and gracious with their time and knowledge, to our organizers who have been persistent in their hard work, and to our dear participants. Welcome to our webinar entitled Navigating the Online World, #AshFirst2023 in the Digital Age. This event marks the first part of this year's First Responders Drill on anti-sexual harassment. Happy Wednesday, everyone. My name is Kylie June Baguio, and I will be your co-host for today's webinar.
Indeed, this event realizes and strengthens UP Cebu's established commitment to building a more enabling environment for the reporting and appropriate handling of sexual harassment in the school community. I am Vivian K. Santillan, your co-host, and together with Kylie, we thank you all for joining us. This webinar is also a pre-celebration of the International Girls in ICT Day 2023, and whose theme we endeavor to actualize today. That is, to highlight, to develop, and to enhance ASH First Response as a digital skill for life.
That's right. Thus, to formally welcome and provide us with the rationale for this lecture, kindly help me welcome our newly crowned Mix Komsai and this year's GAD Ambassador, Mix Jade Cataques. A virtual applause, please.
Very hot afternoon, everyone. I hope you have a water bottle beside you as we enjoy our webinar today. So, madunggan na ba po? Okay.
Yes, very clear.
Anyways, for those who don't know me, my name is Jade Cataques, and I am UPCSG's training Mix Komsai 2023 and your Gender and Development Ambassador. So, in a world where technology has become an integral part of our lives, it is important to recognize the new challenges and threats that come with it, such as online sexual harassment. The Office of Anti-Sexual Harassment, or OASH, launched #AshFirst 2022 last year, which aimed to raise awareness and equip individuals with the necessary skills to combat sexual harassment. This year, we are continuing our efforts with navigating the online world #AshFirst2023 in the digital age, which is part 1 of 3 of the First Responders Drill on anti-sexual harassment. This webinar aligns with tomorrow's International Girls in ICT 2023 theme and focuses on highlighting, developing, and enhancing ASH First Response as a digital skill for life. It is important to acknowledge that sexual harassment is not limited to physical space, but can also occur in online spaces. This webinar creates an interactive platform where both the speakers and participants can come together to have a valuable conversation about the knowledge and abilities required to deal with gender-based harassment and difficulties in the present digital era. By providing individuals with the necessary digital skills and knowledge, we can create a safer and more inclusive online world. I believe that this webinar will contribute to the ongoing efforts to combat sexual harassment and promote a safer and more secure online environment. I hope that this webinar will be an enriching and informative experience for all participants that serves as a continuation of our efforts to combat sexual harassment and equip individuals with the necessary digital skills to respond effectively. Thank you.
So thank you so much for that, Jade. Your words are a great reminder and a pleasant weight that underlies the significance of this webinar. And truly, we hope to have a meaningful discussion and conversation on the knowledge and skills necessary to confront and address gender-based harassment and challenges in this digital age, as this is a further step forward in ensuring the safety of our learning and the workspaces, and in actualizing a culture of zero tolerance for sexual harassment in UP Cebu.
But the inspiration doesn't just stop here. Every bit of this event is a celebration of women and the LGBTQIA plus community as they continuously, bravely take on and pursue studies and careers in ICTs, science, engineering, technology, and mathematics. Now, with the highlight keynote presentation of today's webinar hopes to equip all of us with the knowledge and skills in navigating the digital space and to be on guard against online sexual harassment. We hope to first situate ourselves appropriately.
So what are we engaging with in this digital age? Well, we do know that the internet can better the access, expression, and representation of the marginalized. How does gender-based harassment and violence find its way and actually use the digital space to worsen harms confronting its users? And where do we draw the line? Or in the first place, is there a need to draw the line? For this segment, the organizing class of PS 164, Gender and Politics, are proud to present their short teasers for their paper pitches on the core segment topic of gender in the digital age.
Bullying women in the digital age. In our world today, our streams of connections are wider and even operate faster than ever before. Thus, it comes as to no surprise that physical experiences have been adapted to the virtual world, and that unfortunately did not excuse bullying. Traditional bullying in a way differs from cyberbullying, but ultimately they coexist and could happen simultaneously to a person. Cyberbullying involves bullying behaviors carried out using digital communication channels such as email, chats, websites, or messages and images transmitted to mobile phones. According to UNICEF, this behavior includes but not limited to distributing false information or publishing embarrassing contents of someone online, using messaging apps to send inappropriate messages, images, or videos, pretending to be someone else to send hurtful messages. Social media created new venue for sexism and misogyny to take place, making it easier for women to be victims of bullying online. In fact, cyberbullying is considered as one area where digital transition harms women more than it does men. Data finds that around 12% of girls under age of 15 in OECD nations experiences cyberbullying. Another found that almost 40% of their under 18 female respondents claim to have been bullied online. Cyberbullying is a significant concern for women as it demonstrates the lack of safe space for them from harmful stereotypes that the patriarchal system has established. Furthermore, it is a concern due to its higher impact on psychological well-being, as it could involve an anonymous perpetrator and a larger audience witnessing the victimization, leading to increased stress and potential negative consequences.
Focusing on cyberbullying, society already has an idea of how to battle it, taking that we had been facing the issue of bullying for years already. Today, there are institutions and even hotlines that aim to battle cyberbullying and bullying in general. Furthermore, tons of independent organizations that advocate for anti-bullying exists. All of these advancements and development are undeniably a help for women in society, who continues to be a subject of prejudice and commodification. With such progress comes the gaps that still needs to be filled and achieved by different public and private institutions and the community itself to be free from bullying. Hotlines and programs and even laws cannot really cure the root cause of the problem here, which is the perspective of the people. Society needs to improve its understanding and practice good morale in the utilization of the internet because it is evident how people's actions create huge ripples of influence nowadays due to the power of social media.
Our proposed resolution on cyberbullying against women involves 1. Molding safe spaces offline and online. It is important to recognize that a person's learning experience is an integral part of their overall development. Thus, to mold safe spaces, there should be stress on the roots of their early knowledge. With that, the family and the educational sector are responsible for imparting awareness and proper guidance concerning bullying in all its forms.
Strengthening policies, support systems, and first responders around cyberbullying may only succeed through the improvement of its implementation processes. Law enforcement is an integral part of the fight against cyberbullying of women, and it should allow people to bring forth their burdens to these institutions in peace and have the guarantee that their concerns shall be addressed with urgency. Moreover, it is vital to create awareness through publications of information online that appeals to the attention of the community. To conclude, the issue here is not cliché, it is recurring and evolving. Thus, it is highly significant for the society of the digital age to tackle cyberbullying because it is not natural for someone to be bullied. Hence, the provided series of solutions show how society can eliminate cyberbullying against women from the root. That is all, thank you.
Bullying women in the digital
All right. Paper pitch from Tribo Amgo. So what can you say, or what are your thoughts about that, Vivian?
Actually, I think it was very empowering and very informative in a sense that I honestly, there's some new learnings there that how what social media or the internet in general is weaponized against women when in the first place it was created as another space for everyone to feel safe and to express themselves. And I think, unfortunately and sadly, that has been used against a lot of people. So with that, I'd like to thank and laud Tribu Abgo for their paper pitch teaser. So I think we kind of know what to expect for their paper pitch, the paper in general. So yeah. How about you, Kai?
Yeah, I actually share the same opinion as you, Vivian. I mean, bullying is actually very real in the cyberspace, and I have heard like quite a lot of stories on the internet about like people struggling from cyberbullying, and even some like decided to end their lives because of the sad experiences that they experience, the sad experiences that they feel online. And as mentioned in the paper or in the video presentation, and sadly, women are mostly the victims of cyberbullying. So I agree with the group that we should mold safe spaces online and offline against the patriarchal narrative today. So that's that. Thank you for that, Tribo Amgo. Now I think it's time for Tribo Hulma.
I clicked the link, and I saw someone stripped of their dignity, stripped of life as they had known it. It was like being hit in the chest with a baseball, and I couldn't catch my breath. The worst part was that it wasn't someone else that I could feel sorry for. It was me. Today, I want to share some of my experience as a victim of revenge pornography.
Artificial intelligence, you found a story, is capable of creating fake nude photos of women.
This technology takes clothed photos of women and undresses them using AI that's trained using databases of actual nude photographs of.
Imagine 4,406 people, women to be specific, in the same room with you. That's a lot, right? Well, that is the number of reported cases of non-consensual distribution of intimate media in the years 2021 and 2022. The victims are more or less aged 16 years or younger. The fourth industrial revolution introduces us to a digital and information-centered world where people are fastly connected with the help of technology. Just like instant messaging platforms, the propagation of leaked private media has been in surge and in a swift manner.
I started suffering constantly from nightmares and night terrors. Most of the dreams involved my ex hurting or raping me, or someone else being very
The
violent
emergence of
towards me.
AI and technological advancements make it easier for sexual predators to harm women through leaking private photos and videos, editing a woman's face over provocative media, creating groups that are solely for scandalous content, and threatening victims in exchange of sexual favors. Victims are humiliated, put in a spotlight, scrutinized, and then outcasted. There is now a question in trust, self-worth, and confidence. It is as if your autonomy is being taken away. Now, the question is, how do we counter this?
By going public with my story, I want to take away the shame society puts on victims of revenge pornography and also encourage other victims of revenge porn to come forward and begin seeking justice.
Play for years, but he didn't just post the woman's intimate images without her consent. He also published her name and personal details, and now he'll have to pay her $160,000.
Non-consensual distribution of private media is illegal in a huge part of the world, including the Philippines. Republic Act No. 9995, the Anti-Photo and Video Voyeurism Act of 2009, protects victims against cases like this. No playing peeping Tom during private moments, and no sharing and uploading of sexual content without consent. Consent is the crucial element in this discussion. The absence of consent should indicate discontinuance of action.
There's a need to actively combat the usage of private media as a way of terrorizing women. We need to make sure that the internet is used as a productive venue that will contribute to the convenience and betterment of society instead of providing platform that harms women through leaking private attachments that are supposed to be for an individual's consumption.
We must have an accessible avenue towards self-security and validation so as to lessen the possibility of sharing intimate images in pursuit of male validation.
Tribu Hulma against the non-consensual distribution of private media.
Tribu Hulma as responsible netizens of the internet.
Tribu Hulma as responsible and reliable first responders.
Ipaglaban ang katwiran ng mga kababaihan.
Huwag hayaang lumaganap ang karahasan. Stop non-consensual sharing of private media.
Bullying women.
So thank you so much for that, Tribo Hulma.
Hulma.
That was a Hulma, right? That was a very eye-opening, actually, very eye-opening video and teaser for Paper Pitch, because personally, I've read and heard a lot of those things going on and how it actually brought about so much mental detriment towards a victim. And I've, like we've heard about it a lot on social media and even other platforms about how we shouldn't shame those victims and instead help create a safe space for them to voice out and fight for their rights. How about you guys?
Agreed, Vivian. I think the biggest takeaway I have from the presentation is actually consent is very important. So I think that's the crucial thing that we should consider in sharing private media and stuff like that. So I think we can ask a reaction. Is there anyone who would like to share the reaction from the video? I think we can ask AG to share like a brief reaction from the video presentation. AG?
Yeah, so revenge porn is really a very serious na issue, especially so invasion of privacy, not just so women, but all people who experience this type of something. But aside from the discussed points earlier, I think it's also important to actually build an avenue for women or for everyone to have a self-security to actually, kasi mostly I asked, because it's from our tribe, so I asked a lot of people regarding this, and they said na it's either they are forced by their partners to send pictures, or it's their way of looking for validation from other people. So that's why there should be an avenue for women to not to not feel insecure or something lacking for them to not be ay para dili sila like dali ra mahimo nga victim for the sa men or other people who are taking advantage of them. And like what the NFC said, as she discussed like earlier, or like from our previous classes, na it's not the right to use the term revenge porn because it's not porn because wala consent sa girl ang gihatag, so you can't really call it porn. So that would be my comment. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you for that very substantial reaction or point, AG. Now let's proceed to the next tribe, which will
is
be Tribo
Tribo Mugna.
Mugna.
Commercialized online sex work is everywhere. Children, women, and men are prostituting themselves for survivability. Their bodies are sold and commodified on the internet at an increasingly overwhelming rate in exchange for a sum of money or something of value. According to Foundation Cell, as reported in Le Figaro, there is an estimation of 40 to 42 million prostitutes or sex workers worldwide. 80% of the world's population of sex workers are female and range in age between 13 to 25. While these statistics about sex work are just barely touching the surface, they indicate the extent of the sex work industry. With the advent of globalization and the internet, sexual commerce has achieved an industrial and global dimension. Take, for example, the OnlyFans. It's a service primarily used by sex workers who produce explicit videos or pornography. Its users and content creators have grown in numbers, especially during the pandemic. As of March 15, 2023, OnlyFans have 2 million content creators. With the rampancy of sex work on the internet bloom, people have raised concern whether or not sex work is amiable to those who perform it. Does it do more harm than good? Does sex work promote feminism? Or is it an outright threat to it?
The topic on sex work is a highly debated topic in different fields, most especially in feminism, where people are torn if it's feminist or a threat to feminism. The advancement of technology and the internet allows easier access of purchasing the commodities sold by content creators of platforms such as OnlyFans, Twitter Alt, and the like. On one side of the debate, liberals confer that sex work, in all forms, give women the agency to be autonomous of their bodies and empowers them, as they have the choice of expressing their sexuality that has long been suppressed and shamed in the patriarchal society, and it recognizes their economic freedom. Hence, it should not be viewed as dirty work, but rather a professional service. Because what difference does it make compared to other workers in the entertainment industry, such as stage actors, performers, and comedians, where they are compensated for their actual labor and not the product that their labor produces? In this way, a prostitute can be compared to an entertainer. The purpose of both occupations is to provide a client with a pleasurable experience. Liberal feminists also forward that legitimization of sex work can reconstruct prostitution by reclaiming its negative connotations and associations, providing the workers with worker benefits such as health care, sick leave, and workers' compensation, standing that sex work is just work.
On the other end of the spectrum, sex work does not promote feminism. Sex work supports men's indiscriminate access to the sexuality of women. According to Kathleen Barry, author of Female Sexual Slavery, sex work promotes the cultural value that men should have sexual service provided to them under any conditions and terms they desire. Moreover, the reason for entering this kind of work is on the basis of survivability, which goes to show the limited opportunities for women while working, and succumbs to the patriarchy because in the first place, consumers are mostly men. Hence, in this lens, sex work does not promote women's values and rights. It forwards and heeds to the patriarchal narrative.
We cannot deny the empowerment that comes from the agency of having the liberty to do what you want with your body, and in that sense, it is somehow feminist. But we also cannot deny the undertones of patriarchy and sexism in online sex work, because even if there is consent to it, you have to go back to the basis of why you enter that field of work: survivability, which makes you question if it is in full consent, because there is no other viable work choice for you to enter, and to have a work choice that has a better economic advantage.
Wow. Thank you for that, Tribumugna. I think I think we can ask someone from the Zoom call to share his or her reaction, right? So I think we
Yeah.
can have Harold.
Harold, are
Harold?
you there?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, I would just like to put my perspective on the thought of it. These acts like having OnlyFans and somewhat making money out of your body or for someone to see it is not feminism because I do agree that it is an indiscriminate access to women's sexuality. So yeah, in that sense, um, as peoples in the field, we should dig into more into the root causes of this problem. Like, yes, women have agency over their bodies, but they are also predated by people, mostly men, for their so um yeah, we should take note of that. Okay.
Thank you so
Right.
much. Okay, thank you so much for that insight, Harold. And I think we're down to our last tribe pitch in. We have Tribo Ugmad for their paper pitch teaser.
Good day, everyone. This is Partnership 1 of Tribu Ugmad, and our paper concerns feminist discourses in digital sex work, specifically with respect to the subscription-based social media platform OnlyFans. Since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, OnlyFans has gained popularity for hosting and profiting from sexually explicit content as an amateur pornography site. The platform and its patrons claim to be an empowering, risk-free environment for sex workers and the digital sex industry due to the relative autonomy accorded to content creators and a higher share of profits that they receive from site streaming subscriptions and one-time tips from their fans. However, it has also been at the receiving end of controversy due to the increasing reports of risks and vulnerabilities related to child sexual exploitation, adult sex trafficking, sextortion, non-consensually distributed pornography, and the persisting demand for more explicit content and abusive sex acts from a largely male audience, which are primarily facilitated, mediated, and enabled by the platform's features. Thus, the empowering autonomy and the risk-free environment supposedly offered by the platform should be critically engaged with much concern and attention as it continues to penetrate the mainstream with over 2 million content creators and over 130 million subscribers from around the world as of August of 2021.
Hence, employing a radical feminist perspective, we propose to examine the entirety of the digital sex work feminist conversation, specifically in aspects of autonomy, consumerism, and liberation, particularly because the outburst of OnlyFans in the digital space re-invoked a long discourse among two feminist forces, the anti-sex work feminists and pro-sex work feminists, now nuanced in the cyberspace. The anti-sex work feminists argue that the glorification of sex work breeds complacency as it ignores the structures that force women to succumb to online sex work while also contributing to the patriarchy by feeding into the male gaze. On the other hand, the pro-sex work feminists emphasize the importance of protecting women that choose to do sex work and the significance of a safe environment that allows sexual liberation absent from societal backlash, which pro-sex work feminists argue can be achieved through OnlyFans. This debate is not black and white, and it will always remain a gray area within the realm of digital feminist politics, which necessitates further evaluation and examination.
Good day, everyone. This is Partnership
All right, so that's the video presentation from Tribo Ogmad. I think Jiao Jiao would want to share
Uh, good af-
something.
so good afternoon, everyone. From the video, I would really say that the discussion on OnlyFans on sex work for like the past two papers is not really something that we can give a definite answer to, as it is not, as what Raj said in the video, not a black and white debate. It's not something that we have a certain answer to, and this gives us the opportunity to probe on how we can increase women's confidence, and not only women's confidence but also those members of the community of peoples of diverse SOGS, on how they can boost their confidence in such a way that we do not exploit them, that we do not promote sexual the aspect of the male gaze, but also it also allows us to ask on and probe on the economic status or the economic conditions of women, specifically on the oppression, specifically on the robbery or the suppression of their opportunity to have equal rights as to men. And this is a very interesting paper, not because it answers the question on whether sex work is work, or whether feminist, or whether OnlyFans is harmful or beneficial to the feminist movement, but rather it sheds the light, it provides the step forward. And this, as what Raj said, requires much more intervention and much more study that we need to do in the future. So that's all for our end.
Thank you for that, Jiao Jiao. And there you have it, everyone. These teasers are only a glimpse of quite the lineup of issues that are definitely relevant and worth further attention, not just by students of gender and politics, but of the general public. After all, we are all netizens of the technology we've come to both enjoy and be challenged.
And I'm very sure the teasers had us on the edge of our seats, because I sure was. And for this point, let's try to sit back and take a breather. And before we get to know our esteemed speaker this afternoon, we also want to get to know our audience. And with that, are we still here, everyone? Can someone send a react or a chat in the chat box? Are you still here? Or nangalanay na ba ta sa kainit? We have to admit, today's a really hot day. Okay? Oh yes, from Melissa, still here. Okay, that's good to hear from everyone. All right. Okay, now if you're still with us, well, obviously, click on the Venti link and that our moderators will be sending via the Zoom chat box or in the Facebook live stream, and let us answer our question of the day. Okay, first is everyone, okay, I think it's there. Go click on the link, everyone. Okay, please give a thumbs up or a chat in the chat box if you're already in the link, so that we can send out our first question. Okay, can you see hand gestures or a confirmation? Are you there, guys? The Menti link?
Yeah, I'm here, Vivian.
All right.
I'm about to write my words.
Okay, that's great to hear. Okay, so let's have our first question, our question for today. The first word that comes to mind, what is the first word, rather, that comes to mind about digital skills? Okay, first word that comes to mind about digital skills. Okay, so we have here humanized internet, smartphone,
e-empowerment, mobility,
troll repellent. Wow.
Cyber.
I'm looking for a word that might get bigger because it's repetitive. So just punch in your words, guys. Don't be scared. Do it as much as you can.
Keep them coming.
We have smartphones. Okay, techie power. Ooh, ICT being the one at the center. Then followed
Internet
by
literacy.
Yeah, that one. Privilege, information, Microsoft, mobility, male dominated. Oh, keep it coming. What else?
Vital.
Critical, vital. Humanized internet. Wow, that's a really good insight. It's really good insights coming from you guys.
Computer.
What
else?
Okay.
Well,
I think,
actually,
yeah, I think
mhm,
okay.
there's also the word communication. So let's keep these results in mind because today, guys, we will find out that there might be, in fact, there's definitely more to digital skills than these. So that we also have humanized internet. What else? Power. Wow. Well, Vivian, I think we can play another one. We can
Yeah.
have another Menti link for everyone. So
But
thank you
before
for
that,
that,
guys,
guys. Yes,
let's
sure.
see. Okay, but from the results, I think the most inputted word would have to be computer. Correct me if I'm wrong, because
Computer.
it's the one, yeah, biggest, right? Okay, so it kind of makes you think, why computer, right? So let's just have that in mind and let's have it answered at the end of our session. Okay, or during the discussion itself. And going back,
Yes, so I think we can now proceed to the second mental link for today. So we will also be sending another one via the chat box or the comment section. So just click the mental link found. And if you have answers, you may input them down in the mental link. So there you have it. So the second question is, what's stopping netizens to report online sexual harassment? So that you may now input your thoughts about the question. How about
that's
you,
right.
Vivian? While people are still typing their answers, what do you think? What's stopping netizens to report online sexual harassment?
For me, it would be personally and how I see it. It would be because of shame.
Oh, same.
There's a really a big victim blaming. There's a really big attack towards victim blaming that instead of empathizing with them and understanding what they feel, they're instead seen as the villain and somehow even gaslighted as it is their fault as to why it happened. And the perpetrators are barely questioned for why because it's normalized, but it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, from the results, let's see. For one, leading is shame. Second is the poor justice system. And third is institutional oppression.
Wow. So shame has the highest number of votes also.
With number 13, am I right? I can see clearly.
Yeah,
Okay.
13. I see. Well, I think that speaks a lot about our society today, Vivian, right? I mean, like people would always put shame on the victims. Like they
Yes.
blame the victims. So that's why the victims don't want to show themselves or, try to report the harassment that they experience because they are being stigmatized by
Yes.
society. So
And it's
that's
also
that.
coming from a place of fear. And second, we have is the poor justice system. I think it's somehow it is something that has to be visited because regardless of victims, if they're really victim, I mean, there are victims who really raise it towards for legal processes, but there are barely, I honestly, personally, I can barely see, or there's somehow not necessarily slow, but there's a poor response when it comes to helping those victims. Then say it again, mentioning how much we live in a patriarchal society.
Yeah, agreed, Vivian. I think we could also ask some thoughts from our audience today. Let me see.
Let's call it by
Mhm.
random. Let's go.
Yeah, sure. Let me see. I think we can try. Let me see.
How about coming from our UPPSS chairperson? Let's call John Ryan Hakon. Rai, are you there?
Hello? Am I audible?
Okay, so what can you an
May
insight coming from the results of the second Venti game?
Okay. By the way, my apologies if there are if my audio is not clear. I'm actually at AS 153 right now. I'm on campus right now. And yeah. Anyway, With regard to the results of the poll so far, it really shows that there are significant barriers for people in reporting online sexual harassment, more so in the case of more so na online siya. And because of that, we need to equip ourselves to become gender responsive na mga first responders to online sexual harassment and to sexual harassment in general. And I think that that's something that we are personally looking forward to through hashtag for ASH First 2023, in order to provide for ASH or anti-sexual harassment as ASH First Response as a digital skill for life, especially echoing our theme for tomorrow in commemoration of International Girls in ICT Day, which is digital skills for life. What if we're going to think of what if becoming a safe space to everyone online, it ought to be a digital skill for life. Yeah, in order for us to actually reproduce kind of safe spaces online and really echo to everyone na our digital space ought to be a safe space. So that's all on my end. But yeah, based on this quick survey that we have right now by a Mentimeter, there are really significant challenges or barriers in the reporting of online sexual harassment. That's all. Thank you, by the way.
Okay, thank you so much for that very insightful comment from our UPPSS chairperson. And yes, I do agree indeed that there's, things you still have to do in order to get there. Okay, now for this part, Kylie, what's up?
Yeah, I think, Vivian, we can do some shout out for now. I mean, we have a lot of participants here joining in our Zoom.
Okay, so guys, where are you from? Or where are you right now?
You can tell us where you are right now. How is the weather in your area?
Yeah.
Or have you eaten your lunch already? I think it's already 3 p.m. So I assume they have already eaten. But there, let me see. Oh, Nessa is at home eating ice cream.
Ice cream. Wow. To remedy the hot day. Okay, from Jeremy Castro here in the office. Very cold.
Very cold.
Another sana all.
Sana all.
Okay.
So hot here. Oh, Kat is also
library from Jolene. AS. From
AS
Roger. Apartment hot because it's hot here too. From Junrei Kanyate, Chem Lab.
Chem Lab.
Okay. Watching from UP Cebu eating chocolate na. We have AS153. It seems like we have a lot of participants from AS153.
Exactly.
Shout out, cheers to AS153.
I think they're doing like a hybrid kind of setup, Vivian.
Yes.
So that
Very
Camila
interactive.
is in her boarding house carrying my green portable fan because my electric fan is not enough to alleviate the heat. Yeah, that's right. Actually, I also have a fan here and I also bought an extra fan because it's very hot. So that, yes. Thank you guys for answering that question. So now, Vivian, I think we can proceed to the Padlet link. So that, all right. So I know we can't wait for today's highlight presentation and our distinguished keynote speaker, but for all of us to maximize this learning experience, we have prepared a Padlet wall accessible for all participants to make use of if they wish to take note of their learnings, takeaways, highlights, or points of curiosity. Just simply click on the link bit.ly/ashfirst23 Padlet wall, which you can find in the Zoom chat if you're with us here in Zoom or in the comment section if you're joining us through our Facebook live stream.
Okay, so do note that your notes will be shared and posted on our OASH Facebook page in time for tomorrow's celebration of the National Girls in ICT Day 2023. And again, should you choose to participate in this virtual synchronous activity, your notes will be shared and posted on our OASH Facebook page.
Yes, so that, I think we can see the Padlet wall on the screen. So guys, you may input your thoughts, takeaways, or curiosities from this webinar on the Padlet link. So just take note of that. Now, I'm sure that we are all excited for the keynote presentations, especially with such an interesting topic. But right now, we are currently experiencing technical difficulties on the part of our keynote speaker. So, guys, we will take a short break. And while waiting, let us watch a flashback of the ASH first 2022 video. So, take it away.
Ituring ang iyong sariling tagahawi ng ulap sa kalangitang kulimlim. Kampanang yayanig sa bawat nilalang magigising ng lupang kulang sa tinig. Ikaw ang magsasabing kaya mo to, tulad ng isang tanglaw sa gitna ng bagyo. Isigaw mo sa hangin, tumindig at magsilbing liwanag, liwanag sa dilim. Harapin mong magiting ang bagong awitin. Ikaw ang liwanag sa dilim.
Gender-based violence is not the shadow pandemic. It is the primary pandemic. The words of author and TV documentary producer Hazel Friedman. Good day to all. I am Arch Capistrano of UP Cebu. And I take this privilege of presenting the University of the Philippines Cebu First Responders Drill on Anti-Sexual Harassment, or #AshFirst 2022. In crafting this project, the Office of Anti-Sexual Harassment, or OASH, targeted as the gender issue the vulnerability of students and employees to gender-based violence in the form of sexual harassment. I emphasize that this vulnerability is expanded by the pandemic-induced turn to remote learning and work-from-home arrangements. This is cognizant of the reality that once you do not feel safe in learning or at work, your well-being and productivity suffer to the detriment of our economy and the future. True, we recognize gender rights as human rights, and we have protective legislation, particularly Republic Act number 7877, or the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995, and Republic Act number 11313, or the Safe Spaces Act of 2019, among others. In UP, we even have the UP Anti-Sexual Harassment Code, or UPASH Code, which took effect in 2017. In fact, in its Section 5, it even recognizes that sexual harassment can be committed using information and communications technology a couple of years before the Safe Spaces Act is even legislated. However, the COVID-19 pandemic exposed how procedures in apprehending and responding to sexual harassment tend to be more suited to the old normal. These procedural inadequacies, along with the widespread realization that administrative and/or legal recourse to address sexual harassment tend to be protracted and energy draining and even resource draining. These underscore the need for approaches beyond the reactive rigors of formal investigations or litigation to proactive, trauma-informed, even feminist care and support systems. My participation in this event, the Hunting Ground film screening and discussion, organized by the National University of Singapore Gender and Sexuality Research Cluster last February, encouraged me to pursue OASH's shared plan with UP Cebu's Gender and Development Office to conduct an ASH Frontliners training, which in this event for NUS they call the First Responders Training. This documentary actually exposes how big universities in the global north, particularly the Ivy League universities, tend to silence complaints from brave souls who suffer sexual harassment just because these universities, big names as they are very much protective of their reputation. With anyone becoming a potential victim of sexual harassment online or offline, along with the context of educational institutions amidst the pandemic, the call of the hour is to capacitate
life or have been came to light. And I really hope that you get away from this presentation with a lot more knowledge and a bit more skills to combat against cybersexual harassment. So let's begin. So like I said, there is a trigger warning that I'd like to give to everyone present here. This is a very sensitive issue, and for some of you, it may be very, very sensitive, as you may have experienced sexual harassment personally or have observed it happen to others. If this topic is uncomfortable to you or triggers any bad experiences or past experiences, I request you to leave the presentation because your mental health is more important to us. So a little bit about me. Hi everyone, my name is Kavika and I am a cybersecurity consultant by profession. I work in vulnerability management and incident response of the cybersecurity space, and I'm an advocate of digital equity and security awareness among all sections of the population, the elderly, the vulnerable section of the population, such as the little kids who don't know much about technology. Well, kids are born with iPads in their hands nowadays, but it's necessary to educate people about the security of technology, especially when we are using it at such a wider level. So to begin with, let's start with the definition of what sexual harassment or cybersexual harassment is. To give in a very definitive words, these definitions have been taken and extracted from official platforms. You can verify them. None of them have been created because this is a personal matter. So sexual harassment is unwelcomed or forceful sexual behavior that is offensive, humiliating, and intimidating. This is a definition taken out from Reach Out Australia, a mental health organization. Online or cyber sexual harassment is sexual harassment using technology, usually and primarily internet, to sexually harass an individual through emails, voice messages, text messages, using provocative, explicit images or words or actions to make the victim feel threatened or attacked. So that's the base of sexual harassment. And to see or spot the signs of sexual harassment, here are some examples. Body shaming. I guess a lot of you might have heard in the news articles or in interviews or even TikTok videos, Instagram reels, that a lot of influencers are body shamed recently. Is there, okay, is my camera not visible? I just got a request.
Yes, Mix, actually we cannot see your face.
Okay, you can't see my face?
Yes, we can't see your face.
Okay, okay. Yeah, just let me know because I'll open the chat as well, open to any questions. So continuing the presentation, body shaming. How many of you, and I want this to be an interactive workshop, how many of you have heard or have read in the news about Selena Gomez? Body shaming, and I want to see raise of hands or any comments in the chat. Yes? So body shaming, this is an example of body shaming. Due to some medical reasons, Selena Gomez, even lots of singers have been body shamed for their body type on social media and have been threatened for their body. And making fun of someone is different, but body shaming impacted them mentally, and they were seeking mental health therapy for that as well. Second, which is commonly done, is trolling. A lot of public figures are trolled. There are a lot of things that you can see in the comment section of YouTube channels, of Instagram, of TikTok. People are trolled for the content they produce and for being themselves as well. Trolling is a form of cybersexual harassment. Cyber stalking. So we all have viewed and gone through the images of our friends on Instagram or Facebook, Snapchat, all social media, right? That is not particularly cyber stalking. It includes in the stalking. Cyber stalking is actually keeping track of movements of the individual or the victim at every point. It is creepy, and it's really, really intrusive to privacy, as it can lead to you feeling threatened all the time. Third, which is really common nowadays with online dating, is sexting. A lot of individuals indulge in sexting. If it's consensual, that's good. If it's not consensual, it can lead to severe mental health consequences. Sexting includes using sexual language and intimate language on text, and also sharing intimate images of yours or your significant others, and sharing them. I personally am not a fan of it. I don't recommend it at all. However, this is also a form of cybersexual harassment which has taken place on online social media. A lot of times, the photographs that are shared are morphed and are edited and then shared online. That's called morph photographs, and also is used for pornography. So they have kind of like a connection with each other. So that's also a form of cybersexual harassment. And as we all know, using inappropriate words, abusive language is a form of cybersexual harassment. So when we have covered the signs of cybersexual harassment, let's see what are the statistics behind it. I'm saddened to share this, a bit sad because the continues, and I'm sharing statistics of women, but there are alarming statistics for men as well, which I want to bring to light as well. Only 1 out of 4 victims report online harassment to relevant authorities. That's a very alarming number. With the number of attacks or number of crimes that take place online, only 1 get reported out of 4. Studies of 51 countries showed that 38% women experience or have experienced in the past online harassment through social media, work at their workplace, or especially through online dating platforms. There's another statistic which is not in the screen, which is 43% men don't know when they're sexually harassed, and they do not report it as well. Men get sexually harassed as well as women do, but the harassment of men is quite not highlighted in the live. So how do we spot sexual harassment? How can we prevent it at the early stages? And what are the signs? And how can we go on and prevent or save our friends from getting into such kind of a deal? So first, the stage 1 of sexual harassment. The stages that I've highlighted are actually stages of sexual harassment, but they apply on online dating as well. I'll go through each stage and understand. I'll actually interpret how online it is done. So first is targeting the victim. So I did a study with my university while I was studying, which was on online relationships. And it was about online relationships and dating platforms. I'd like to share some of the study that I had done. So in online relationships or dating, gaining recognition for intimacy or romance is really common. So to establish relationships, people often portray themselves as the perfect partner, which is very common. According to human psychology, we often portray ourselves the way so that the other person loves us or gives us affection. This is called self-representation. So the ultimate goal is to find an ideal partner. And the reason why I'm telling you the psychological point of view is because when you understand it, you'll understand how the psychological point of view is quite relevant while you are dating in general as well, but it can be misused when you are faced with a person who is not genuine and cannot be trusted. So the first stage is targeting a victim. So the victim who is a victim of online social sexual harassment is often targeted based on their physical appearance or their dressing sense, even their cultural background or their gender orientation. So dating platforms introduce users to diverse personalities. You might have seen that you have the choice of matching your characteristics to another person. So to appear as legitimate or authentic, the cyber criminals exploit they have strategic approaches. So they exploit the characteristics that match with yours, things that you are looking for their own malicious gains. So they target innocent victims based on what they want to perceive as their potential partner. So that is targeting a victim. Second is gaining your trust. So how trust is gained in relationships is they establish a common ground. They share personal details very early on in their relationship. They share things like which can gain your empathy. Quite often with girls that happens. People who are targeting them for online sexual harassment, they share personal details quite early on in their relationship, in the beginning of dating, and create emotional intimacy so that they gain trust out of it. Sweet talk, making big promises, even in certain situations, giving gifts is also one of them. And a fake scenario is created for empathy. Now, it is important to know that these stages are also used when you are actually going into a relationship. I don't want you to shy away from relationships or dating, but you need to understand the progress. If it's too fast, if you have the person you're talking to is getting too fast or is too fast in the relationship, is sharing intimate details and wants you to share it, there is something that's wrong. Third stage is filling a void. Now, every one of us has insecurities, right? When you are sharing personal details with someone, you are sharing your insecurities as well. It may be about the way you look. It may be about things that have happened to you in the past. So they find a way to prey on your insecurities and to establish a relationship with you so that you start to trust them and you look for them for emotional validation. So that is important to know. That is establishing a trust or filling a void, which is what a lot of child molesters strive upon as well. Now, the fourth stage is isolation. Quite often, and this is a big red flag in online relationships and online conversations as well. If a person is avoiding to talk, if they're not introducing or talking about their friends group or their family members, or to maintain that special nature of the relationship, that's a huge red flag. All girls and all guys out there, I'm going to tell you that's a huge red flag. If they're not talking about their family members, their friends, they want you to not talk about your relationship with them to your family members as well. There's something that is wrong. Fifth stage is now that they have established trust, now they have isolated you. You might feel at every stage, you might feel, oh my God, is there something wrong? I feel that there's something not right. Gut feeling, always listen to your gut feeling. After they have established trust, after they have isolated you from your friends and family, the fifth stage is asking for sexual favors. They will start to seek sexual interactions. They might initiate conversations about kissing, may send you images or explicit images or videos which may provoke images in your head. Use sexual emoticons and pictures. That's how they do it online. And they may, a lot of you might have heard about the Maroon 5 case, and that's one of them. I'm not blaming anyone on that side. However, I'd say that the screenshots or images that were shared are an example of asking for sexual favors. And sixth stage, and the last stage, which is seeking control. Quite often, what happens is that once they have asked for sexual favors, you have exchanged in the means of establishing trust within the relationship. Remember, I mentioned about sexting, and that's one of them. You have shared images. They may have shared their images or shared images downloaded from another site, and they will seek control in those conversations. They will threaten you by using those private images for more sexual favors or financial favors as well. This can actually leave the victim to feel confused, threatened, unsafe, and sadly ashamed as well. Because in a lot of cultures, it's not very explicit to date online. It's not very common to seek a partner online or to talk to people online and develop relationships or bonds with them. So the offender may gaslight you then. Gaslighting in the sense means that they may say that the things that you say are wrong, or they won't even take accountability for it, and completely block you, even threaten you, or try to exert control. So these are the stages in which sexual harassment or cybersexual harassment is carried out. So how do we respond to it? How do we respond to online sexual harassment? Because as I mentioned all these stages, I'm pretty sure that some of you might have heard about it, or it may have triggered some kind of an experience where a friend may be in need, or a friend may have talked about it. So yes, let's see how can you respond to an online harassment. So the first thing you need to do is, if you're a victim of cyber harassment, that's this way in which you will respond may vary with case to case. You need to go to a trusted individual, someone you can trust, and someone who will listen to you in an unbiased opinion. You need to know that you are not alone. You are not alone in this, and there's a lot of people who are going to help you. So from a victim point of view, I'm going to talk about response to sexual harassment from two points of views here. One is from a victim point of view. One is from a point of view of a friend who is helping out a person in need. So first, if you're a victim, you're not alone. You need to know that you're not alone in this, and you will get the help you will seek. It is important to know that if you're a victim, do not retaliate. Cyber bullies or sexual people who are harass you sexually want you to react. They feed off your insecurities, they feed off your reaction. And the more you respond angrily to the one who is harassing you, they can feed off that response and continue doing that. Plus, there can be consequences to your own response as well. So it is really important to know that you do not retaliate. Second is to record everything. It is really important because cyberbullying is a crime, and it is a crime under all sections, in Philippines, in Australia, and it is a human crime as well, as established by UNICEF. So keeping a record of everything is highly necessary because that will be evidence, like evidence of emails, pictures, text that the person has sent or posted to you. If the cyber sexual harassment is through a blog or a forum, take screenshots of those posts. You can even make screen recordings of Snapchat, Facebook, or Instagram stories. The evidence can be used to build a case against the person who is harassing you, or even in a workplace, because if they are a person in authority, it is really important. Second is, and third is talk to an individual who you trust. If it is happening at a workplace, talk to your employer. There's anti-sexual harassment and an HR department in each company. And I know within my own company, there are departments where I can report about the crime and in private. So it is really important that you talk to a person who is not involved with the victim directly, however, is a trusted member. So once you let them know about it, it prevents you from getting, and I know in a lot of places, such as workplace, you might think that my job may be in, I may lose my job, or I may lose my reputation might go down if this is a person of authority. That's a huge, huge sign that that environment is a toxic environment. So if you're a victim, I need you to know that that abuse does not stop till you. There are a lot of people who are going to be victimized still if the perpetrator or the attacker is still in there. So talking about it is not going to prevent you or anyone else from engaging further. Then report the abuse. As you saw the statistics, not a lot of individuals report the abuse. There are a lot of psychological reasons behind it, and it is really important to know that reporting an abuse is not only help to you, but also help to people who may have faced that before and didn't have the courage to report it. So it is really important to know that once you have recognized abuse, you make a police report with the evidence and the evidence of the threat, then evidence of everything that you need to respond. Then you need to talk about it. Speak with your trusted friends. One thing that cyber harassment leads to is a huge implication on your mind, because you may blame yourself. A lot of times victims blame themselves because they are under the fear that they encourage it. Often at times when the attacker is gaslighting them, they believe that they were the person who were responsible for it. Because of the confused nature of the crime, sometimes they may feel that it's an accident. It can lead to a lot of PTSD, a lot of dysfunctional relationships in future. It can also lead to behaviors such as depression, anxiety, and may cause you to have an emotional trauma. It is also the legal responsibility of a person, if you are not the person who has been abused. If a person who is underage has been abused, it's a legal responsibility of the parent to report it. And then it is, once you have informed and all the evidence is collected, cut ties. It is really important to cut ties from the abuser from any other form. And the reason for this is that you don't need to befriend anyone, don't need to warn anyone. If someone is mistreating you, you need to block that person. You need to remove that person. All social media handles have an option of reporting abuser. You can report a person on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, and report abuse against them as well. Their account and details will be blocked. Once you have reported the abuser, it is important to change your passwords, change your contact information if you have shared with them, change your phone number if you have shared your phone number with them. It is really important to make sure that they cannot contact you in any way possible if that's the case. Now, this is from a perspective of a victim. If you are a person who is reporting a sexual harassment of, and you're an ally of the victim, that is, you are helping another person to report the online sexual harassment, it is really important to know that you need to take a few more measures before you report it. First is, if a person is coming to you with a report of social media harassment or online harassment, the first thing that you have to do is calm them down. You need to make sure that they are in a stable place. And this is the work of a first responder per se. In terms of first responder, you have to make sure that you have calmed down the victim, you have made sure that they are in a stable place, and you are not asking the right questions is really important in that kind of situation. But before asking questions, you need to listen empathetically. You don't need to make any comments. If a person is coming to you with an information which is very sensitive in nature, instead of asking questions, you need to first listen empathetically. If someone is confiding in you with their experiences, that means they trust you, and avoid question or judgment, be an ally and listen to them. Second is offer to help and be genuine. First thing is that quite often the abuser or the person who has been abused may not want to report it. Sorry for my shade of screens. Yep, they may not want to report it. And that is a very genuine response that people have. They won't want to report it because they may be ashamed of it. They may feel that they are threatened and they don't want any further conversation from them. They don't want to report it. However, the suggestion that you can give as a friend is reporting it to, telling them about medical attention that they can get for the emotional abuse that happens with cybersexual abuse, and reporting it to the authorities, that is filing a complaint with the police. It is really important to know that even though you are a really good friend, you don't have the authority to report the person in place of the victim, because the victim is the person who is going to answer to all abuses. And once you have done that, once that trust is established, you, as a first responder, you will be following all those steps, recording conversations, not engaging with the cyberbully or the harasser, talking to a trusting individual yourself, reporting the abuse if it is with the consent of the victim, asking them to cut all ties, and then supporting them afterwards as well. I am mindful of the time. It is the end of the presentation. There's a lot more to be covered still. However, this is the base of how cybersexual harassment is conducted, how you can respond to it as a friend or a family member. It is really important to know that if it's unwanted, if it's uncalled for, and if it's without consent, it is harassment. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I'm open to any questions.
All right. Thank you for that, Mix Singhal. Go, Vib.
There was a lot of new learnings and awareness from discussion, and that allows us practical courses of action combating online sexual harassment. Once again, thank you so much for that, mixing house. And now I know that we have a lot to share, to discuss, and to ask about mixing house presentation. We will have time for our Q&A. But before we bring this helpful conversation further, may we request our guest speaker to join us once again for a humble presentation of appreciation. We would also like to request everyone everyone as well to turn on their cameras in preparation of the photo op that will follow soon after. Okay, so certificate of appreciation is given to Ms. Kavika Singhal, the distinguished resource speaker during the webinar entitled Navigating the Online World. The hashtag AskFirst 2023 in the Digital Age, organized by the Anti-Sexual Harassment on April 26, 2023 via Zoom and Facebook Live, given this 26th day of April 2023, signed by Attorney Archelinia F. Capistano, Coordinator, Office of Anti-Sexual Harassment, University of the Philippines, Cebu, and Attorney Leo B. Malagar, LLM, Chancellor of the University of the Philippines, Cebu. Okay, so for this portion, may we request everyone to turn on their cameras for our photo off. May I call on the tech team for this one?
Hello. Wait. Okay, we have 2 pages, so one. Okay. 1, 2, 3, smile. Second page. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, thank you guys.
All right. Thank you so much, tech team. So for everyone's notice, you are encouraged to answer our post-event evaluation form that will be provided to you via the chat box, and for us also to know your comments and suggestions regarding the said event. So once again, thank you so much, Ms. Singhal, for your incredibly informative and helpful presentation. Dear participants, we are not yet over. We will now proceed to our open forum segment, and we would like to give heads up to Ms. Singhal to stay with us as we endeavor to attend to the questions of our audience. So feel free to share your manifestations, either questions or reflections, via the chat box or the comment section, and we will raise them at this point to be addressed by our speaker.
And now, some of us may need some time to process and type down our questions. So, Mixing Hal, we've actually prepared a few questions beforehand, and we would like to go over them now while we're waiting for our audience to chat their question. And Kylie, why don't we go over and read the first question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So we have the first question. Here goes. Do you collaborate with big tech companies to ensure cybersecurity and truly protect the privacy and dignity of users from sexual online harassers? If yes, how?
Unfortunately, I am not working in that space at the moment. I work with EY. So I work with organizations to protect their systems and their computer systems and infrastructure, that is the digital infrastructure. However, I have worked personally with nonprofit organizations for digital literacy, which includes cyberbullying. I have written research papers on cyberbullying and online relationships. I have a big interest in cyberpsychology, and I'll be pursuing further studies in that space as well. However, I can say from the perspective of people who work with organizations such as that, protecting the privacy of users is a noble job. And I think cybersecurity in general is not only the organization's responsibility, it is everyone's individual responsibility. If you have a social media account, you have a digital identity. If you talk to people online, you work with a digital identity. Your account is your digital identity. So it's really important to use certain settings, and I wish I could have covered that in the presentation. It's a very long and in-depth topic that can be explored in each depth, but there are certain social media settings that you can use to protect your own identity and ensure that you are not engaging with people out of your trusted group circle. A lot of people we all know that we get message requests from people we don't know. Girls and guys both get sexual requests for sexual favors, get requests such as which are not particularly friendly in nature. However, we tend to a lot of youngsters tend to accept such requests in the hunger of followers. Hopefully, this presentation highlighted how it can be very dangerous to do that. If you are a person who is a public influencer, well and good, I think you can ignore those kind of comments. But however, if your job or the work that you do does not demand it, I hope that you take measures to protect your own self as well.
So thank you so much for that, Ms. Singhal. And we would have loved to have the discussion on how to protect ourselves from those, especially with the social media settings. But moving on to the second question, is public backlash or cancel culture justified for perpetrators and or persons implicated in sexual assault? So
sorry, can you repeat that?
Okay, so is public backlash or cancel culture justified for perpetrators and or persons implicated in sexual assault?
It's a debate. I think everyone knows that it's a debate. So freedom of expression is a right and it's a responsibility. Whichever countries you come from, I am originally from India. I have been living in Australia. I have been an Australian resident for a long time. In both the countries, freedom of expression is a right and it's a responsibility. So it's your right to express your opinion. It's your right to express what you feel about any kind of content, any kind of individual. However, it's your responsibility to make sure that your emotions or your expression is not harming or is not at the cost of another person's life or emotions. There is a way to be critical without threatening or life-threatening anyone else. You can be critical of someone's work. You can be critical of a content that you don't like. However, you can be respectful when you are being critical of anything. So that would be my answer. Usually if I don't like something, I do criticize it or I keep quiet. If I don't like it, I criticize it, but I criticize in a constructive way. I don't threaten. I don't threaten to sexually abuse or even kill a person. That also happens. That's what the cancel culture goes.
Yeah, thank you for that, mixing also. Truly, we can be respectful and critical at the same time. Now, for the third question, while there are steps to create a more secure environment in the digital space, are there any methods that ordinary people like us can use in order to track and help the authorities catch these cyber criminals?
Absolutely. I think I mentioned that in my presentation as well. Fun fact, girls make the best investigators. I have worked in cybercrime. I am very passionate about it. However, it's something which I have noticed. It's a perspective, not a statistic. Girls make really good investigators because the observation is really good. So take evidence if you feel something is wrong, if you are confused about something. And I'm not just saying in terms of online dating. I'm saying in terms of there are abusive friendships as well, in the workplace as well. Take a record of things that you feel are not in line with what you value. And I'm not saying carry a recorder everywhere. I'm saying if you are interacting with someone and there is something which is wrong, if they are threatening you, or if they are abusing you, you need to take record of that. Take scroll screenshots. Take evidence of the images, because once you do that, you're helping the authorities to catch the attacker, catch the cyber harasser. You're helping the authorities. Second way that you can do that, as I said before, it is your responsibility to be secure as well. Make sure that while you're using social media, you're using it in an appropriate manner. You're securing yourself. You're not. So to give a basic example, don't reveal your location on social media. There's a case, there are a number of cases that have happened before. To a certain location, they posted that we are going to a certain location or we are at a certain place and put the location in there. You might have seen on Facebook, you might have seen on Instagram as well. They post locations. Okay, we are here. We are here right now. What usually happens, and this is apart from cyber sexual harassment, a person who is stalking you and who is like literally cyber stalking you, they will track your location, and they have done that. These are cases where they have intruded, they have literally barged into your homes and stolen stuff because they saw on the social media that you were at some other location, and in the meantime, they stole your precious belongings. So this is an example. This is a very small example. If you are going to a location, post pictures after you have enjoyed the event. Not only are you enjoying the event to the fullest, you are protecting yourself. So we are getting in the age of social media and instant messages, instant replies. However, it is really important to know the ethics or the right ways in which you can use it.
Okay, so thank you so much for that, Ms. Singhal. Okay, now we have a question coming from the audience, and this is it. Okay, so how do we properly engage with teenagers or minors with regards to learning about cyber sexual harassment? Because it is teenagers who tend to become more defensive on this matter when they are the ones who are actually highly vulnerable as well, taking that perpetrators tend to prey on young individuals.
It is a very, very important question. Thank you so much for asking that. Teenagers are one of the most vulnerable and also one of the most impulsive people. A lot of sexual harassers are unfortunately teenagers themselves. So in case of teenagers, and I have a teenage sister actually, so I know how impulsive they get. It is important to so it is really important to instill them with the trust, first of all, that they are open to conversations which are without judgment. Teenagers react impulsively when they feel misunderstood. So a person or a teenager can only come to you when they trust you. So you need to establish that trust with the teenager that you're dealing with, that if something goes wrong, I am there. Because no matter what happens, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, I'll be there. I think in a lot of cultures, there's a practice of hard love, strict and hard love, which is really important for growth as well. However, what it leads to is a person starts hiding anything that bad happens because they don't want to bear the consequences of the person, of even a trusted member of the family, blasting on them if something bad happens. So one thing is that. Second thing is, there are ways in which you can discuss matters of sexual abuse relationships with teenagers without intruding their privacy. Practice what you preach. Show them how you use your own social media, how you post about it, because we all do use social media. Once you teach them, once you show them, okay, this is how I use it, you can use it in the same way as well. Remember when teenagers were little kids, we used to teach them how to use a computer, how to use an iPad. while you are teaching them that, it's really important to teach them how to securely use that. When kids are really young, you are teaching them how to, use how to cut a cake, right? How to use a knife. That is a very sharp tool, but it's sharp as well. Just imagine it in the same way. So if you're teaching children how to use internet, or they're learning it, it's really important to actually learn how to not misuse it and how to use it in the most useful way.
All right. Thank you for that, Mixing Hal. We have one last question for this segment, Mixing Hal. What are the most urgent policy interventions that can be done by public institutions to increase the protection of victim survivors?
Oh my God, that's a really, really good question. I'm so happy that that the audience is asking questions on a policy level. I think it's really important to know that not only are we responsible, there is a responsibility of the people who are representing us at the government level as well. Okay, so first is that policy making or policies start from a very ground level. So whether you are in university, whether you are in a workplace, policies need to be implemented at workplace and university because they then lead to policy changes in the long run, right? So there needs to be a harassment policy, and I really urge you to, if you're joining any organization, if you are in your own University of Philippines, know your policy, know the sexual harassment policy, know the online harassment policy. It's really, really important that you know that. It's important to know that in terms of knowing what your rights are, also knowing how and which people you report to in case something else happens. The reason why this kind of abuse, and there are statistics of the online sexual abuse, is because of slow law enforcement, slow law enforcement measures. The litigation in sexual harassment, and especially online sexual harassment, is slow, and there are three reasons for it. One is when a sexual harasser, if they're part of a gang, it is really hard to track them down. They're often part of huge human rackets. So to track them down is actually a huge cyber crime and a technological task, where they'll even the name of the person, the address, the email address is fake. So it's very hard to track down cybercrime. Second, why it's hard to do that is at the policy level, there are no policies for online cybercrime. There are policies for sexual harassment, which are accelerating at a good level nowadays in most countries. You would need to learn about the policies within Philippines. Unfortunately, I don't have my current knowledge is not based on policies of online sexual harassment in Philippines. I know about Australia and India. The thing that is really, really important to know is that and that's a problem with cyber law or online law, internet does not have boundaries. When you make laws for a country, for a jurisdiction, for a state. So people within that state or a country can enforce those laws and give them justice. But internet does not have laws. Internet is wide across. The world is connected and there's no laws in between. So that's another reason why it's so difficult to hold the perpetrator accountable. And I agree with King Anthony in the chat that they are anonymous accounts. However, at the technical level, if you log into Google and you register for a Google account today, they will ask for your phone number. They will ask for sometimes your email address, your recovery email address and your address as well. So now they're using, and in Australia, whenever you buy a SIM and you buy a phone number, you need to show your identity. So if you show your identity, you're given a phone number. Through your phone number, you are logging into an email ID. If that email ID is tracked to your phone number, your identity can be revealed. That's how, at the technological and a technical level, it is being combated. But it's a slow process. I agree with you. If there are people in the chat who are interested in cybercrime and actually getting into cybersecurity as an industry as well, definitely go into it, because we need work at the policy level first to fasten the procedure of combating cyber crimes, then to ensure that law enforcement acts on it quickly. Another thing that we need to do in terms of law enforcement is training of law enforcement in online cyber crimes. We have cyber cells, however, they're overloaded with requests because as technology is increasing, so are requests. However, the training of law enforcement in such kind of matters is pretty slow. So really good question. Whoever asked that question, brownie points for you, because it's something which we are working on continuously.
Thank you so much for answering that question, Ms. Singhal. And I'm pretty sure our audience are the audience are like they're related to know the answers to their questions as well. And I would like to extend my gratitude to everyone, to our audience for their participation, and of course to Ms. Singhal for answering those questions. Although unfortunately, we can no longer entertain further questions due to time constraints. However, this does not mean we have to stop digesting all that we've learned today.
Right. And now to keep the ball of critical thinking and engagement with today's lessons rolling, joining us this afternoon to give the reaction and reflection are Mix Isabella Limbaga, a counselor and the GAD focal of the UP Cebu Student Council, and Mix Danielle Rai Peladas, the executive director of the UP Computer Science Guild and the Cebu City lead of the Women in AI Philippines. A warm round of applause, please.
Right. Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Oh, all right. So who will be going first? Will it be Isabella or me?
Is it okay if we'll go with you first, Rai, since you're speaking?
Okay, sige. All right. So before anything else, hi Kavika. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation. It's so nice to be able to see you again online and for us to be able to talk about this because it's a highly relevant matter really nowadays. For my reflection, I have a couple of points here, to be honest. And I don't want to go through all of them because it's so thick, because the conversation has been flowing very well from the beginning. But I think one of the relevant points right now, especially in the Philippines, because I was triggered by what you said regarding this proof of identity whenever you register your SIM card, which is also currently being rolled right now in the Philippines. Actually, the deadline was supposed to be today, but it was extended. And it's a very hot topic to tread upon because there's this issue on the government actually like spying on us or stealing our information for various reasons. And also on their part, it's their defense is that they are trying to reduce these said cyber crimes by being able to verify the identity of the individuals registering their SIMs. So right now, it's still a very controversial topic because one part, I agree because I'd like to reiterate the call really on holding these big firms, especially the big tech firms that are controlling our information accountable for where our information actually goes. Not everyone has this technical background and actually learning about what to do online and what can I do to further protect my privacy. And of course, we're slowly combating this by, of course, providing media and information literacy classes as early as senior high school, which I still think is lacking, by the way. I think that even at the primary level, media and information literacy should be taught to children even before high school, because majority of them are already exposed to the internet and thus further aggravates this problem of exposing these minorities, these women and children to further threats and further harassments online. And one of the main things that I really want to per se share to all of the audience is one, to really hold these big tech companies accountable for wherever our information goes. Because the thing is, it is true that the internet really is boundless. The rules that hold them aren't very strict per place, and that they have, it's like their own separate entity. But the thing is, they're not doing enough in protecting or even in creating these design variables. Whenever they create their products, they never do enough to be able to account for those who are most vulnerable, especially the women and the children. I feel like there's this design perspective for both of us who are already in tech. There is this design perspective which I feel like is lacking for the most sense, because there is this lack of representation in the first place. Can't identify the problem because there was nobody there to be able to actually spot it and to be able to provide a more rigid or a safer kind of framework to be able to build these products that should revolve around safety, and that should have the privacy, that should have the safety, especially of those most vulnerable, in check. Because in the first place, there is no representation in these fields. And so I think most relevant nowadays, since it's also International Day for Women and for Girls in ICT, I guess to further raise the bar up for our next generation of feminists, especially for women in STEM and for women in tech, to really go and push for pursuing careers in cybersecurity, and to be able to have this voice in being to be able to create these policies to combat cybercrime. And another thing, going back to your earlier part of the talk, which I would like to raise lastly, because the thing is that majority of the predators online really prey on the insecurities of these individuals, which for me is race, because in a sense, women are placed in this very rickety kind of bridge where it's like it's either you have to very do well to prove your purpose, or to be perfect in a sense, and to be able to be placed in this sort of standard on what it is like to be a woman, which further reflects further on our patriarchal society in the first place. But I think on our part as this generation's feminists, I think it's also important to also support the next generation of feminists by one, especially for our little girls. I think this is a message that has been rarely spread on the internet, to teach our girls to be brave, and to also to teach our little girls to build their self-esteem so that they won't easily fall towards these predators. And aside from building their self-esteem, I think it is important to build on their confidence and on their skills, so that way they can be a bit more reassured on their own sense to be able to pursue the thing that they really want to pursue in their lives. So yeah, I think that's it on my end. Thank you so much again, and I hope everybody has a great day.
That's super sweet, Daniel. I remember the last conversation that we had was a few months ago. It was last year. And it is really nice to be back talking to the audience in the Philippines. I think it's very close to my heart because it makes me feel that there's a global audience out there for especially getting more people and more women empowered in cybersecurity space, and making them more aware about it. Especially, I come from a South Asian country myself. I feel we, as South Asian women, we are empowered. We need to be empowered. We have a lot of fire in ourselves. So it's really, really, really proud to see you and everyone in this call and in University of Philippines to see so passionate about such topics. Congratulations to every one of you for organizing such an event. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to organize such an event. I have organized events in university myself. I know the amount of work that goes behind the late nights, the coordination. It takes a lot. And I personally relate to it. So thank you so much for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to do that. And I really, really hope that through this presentation or through this talk, you got one point through which even if you got one point or one experience through which you can empower someone or help yourself, it will be a win for me. So thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you also, Mixing How we also did learn a lot from today's webinar. And thank you also, Mix Danielle, for that very insightful reflection or reaction. I think we can have Mix Isabella.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes, you can be heard.
So good afternoon, everyone. I would first like to thank I would first like to commend the UPPSS and the Computer Science Guild, along with our OASH, for organizing this event. And I'd also like to thank our keynote speaker, Mixing Hall, for imparting to us relevant and pertinent knowledge towards the nature of cybersexual harassment and how to properly address it should such cases arise. So I'm pretty sure that all of us here can agree that cybersexual harassment is demeaning, dehumanizing, and demoralizing to the people experiencing such. Wherein, even if it's done on an online, even if it's done through online platforms, the sense of security and safety is shattered for victim survivors. So as mentioned earlier, Nona, that despite its rappancy, statistics would state that only 1 out of 4 people would speak up or report their experiences, which is due to shame, a poor justice system, especially here in the Philippines, as well as institutional oppression. And I would also like to highlight that I believe that there still continues to be a notion that cybersexual harassment is considered not as serious as other forms of sexual violence, which belies the gravity of which belies its gravity. No, and so in combating cybersexual harassment, I think it's very important for all of us to be well informed about how to better respond as individuals as well as a collective, in order to not only provide awareness but pair it with access wherein victim survivors are provided with the proper avenues to report and seek for assistance, as well as provide victim survivors with a community that ensures them, as highlighted by Mixing Hall earlier, that they are not alone, that they're not alone in their struggles, that their experiences are heard and validated, and that they are provided with the sensitivity and empathy that they deserve, along with mitigating the consequences that they are burdened by. It's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate and saddening that they have to deal with the consequences of something that they did not ask for or that they don't deserve. So I hope that with this event, I hope that all of us here are committed to fighting cyber sexual harassment as well as other forms of sexual violence, and to take active part in creating genuine social change in both online and offline spaces. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Isabella. That was really nice. And I agree with you. It's not taken a lot seriously. Cyber sexual harassment is not taken a lot seriously. And now it's getting to a stage where, because there are physical consequences of cyber crimes nowadays, people are taking it seriously, and which is very saddening. But I agree with you all on it. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much for that, Rai and Isabella, for those incredibly thought-provoking insights. And before we show our appreciation to our reactors, we would like to once again present our certificate of appreciation to Ms. Kavika Singhal for her incredible contribution to this webinar. And every moment of this event is indeed worth the heat. Okay, a virtual round of applause, please, everyone. Okay. We also present certificates of appreciation to our reactors, Ms. Isabella Limbaga and Ms. Danielle Rai Peladas, for their generous participation as student reactors during the Navigating the Online World #AshForce 2023 in the Digital Age webinar organized by the Office of Anti-Sexual Harassment on April 26, 2023 via Zoom and Facebook Live, Given this 26th day of April 2023, signed by Attorney Archelinia F. Capistano, Coordinator of Office of Anti-Sexual Harassment, University of the Philippines Cebu, and Attorney Leo B. Malagar, Chancellor of the University of the Philippines Cebu. We'd also like to give our certificate of appreciation to Mix Jade as well, for Mix Jade Cataques for her presence in this webinar as Mix Komsai and GAD Ambassador. And what a splendid jam-packed discussion, which unfortunately reminds me that this is the last part of today's very informative webinar. But I think I can speak on behalf of everyone here that today, that this would have never made much of an impact without our gracious speaker, our guests, the organizing committee, and of course, ANFC, UP Cebu TLRC, OASH, and the UP Political Science Society. The lessons that we have learned from them gave us a deeper insight of gender in the digital age. So, once again, let us give a virtual cheer and applause to Mix Singhal and to everyone in this Zoom meeting.
For everyone's notice, you are encouraged to answer our post-event evaluation form bit.ly/evaluate ASH 1st 2023, April 26, for us to know your comments and suggestions regarding the said event. And now, to assist us in concluding this lecture, in high hopes, we have Mix Arjo Marie Cabudlan, the Vice Chairperson of External Affairs of the UP Political Science Society, to share her synthesis and reflection on the key learnings that have been raised today. She will be followed by our very own UP Political Science Society Chairperson, Mix John Ryan Hakot, for his concluding remarks to formally end this webinar.
Thank you, Kai and Viv. Checking if I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. So, hi, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the organizing class PS164 Gender and Politics and partner organization UPPSS, I'd like to thank all participants for being here today. I think your interest in learning about fighting cyber sexual harassment will create a domino effect change in the online realm. I'd also like to thank the Office of Anti-Sexual Harassment for this initiative. I think we all agree that we'll leave with more knowledge about the subject matter and are better equipped to respond to future possible cases of cyber sexual harassment, which I hope won't materialize or happen in the future, actually. So we started this webinar with a speech about the rationale of this activity from the Mix Komsai GAD Ambassador. It is important to establish that we recognize the need to expand our knowledge about prevalent issues on the internet, especially as International Girls in ICT Day is fast approaching. There might be instances where victims of cyber sexual harassment or cyberbullying are just those close to us but are afraid to speak up because of shame, self-guilt. Hence, activities like this allow us not just to be equipped but also to show that these survivors are not alone in their journey of healing and demanding accountability. Next, we were shown the paper pitches of the PS164A block, whose topics are actually very interesting and are close to my heart. Cyberbullying on women, the surge of leaked private media, the emergence of online pornographic services, and discourses about digital sex work through the feminist lens. Mix Kavika Singhal honored us with their talk about online safety, fighting cyber sexual harassment. With the emergence of the internet, anyone can be a victim or actually even the person implicated. Hence, there is a chance that will be the first responders of cases like this. Since this issue is a sensitive matter, there is a need to ensure that we are properly equipped with knowledge in order to be responsible responders. We need to be asking the right questions and providing a safe space for the victims. The speaker presented us with the general stages of cyber sexual harassment, starting with targeting a victim, gaining their trust, filling a void through targeting their insecurities, victim isolation, materializing the sexual favors, and lastly, the person implicated seeking control over the victim. What we need to remember from the words of Mix Kavika is that if it is unwanted, uncalled for, and without consent, then it is harassment, regardless of where it takes place, online or offline. I hope that we are able to secure ourselves against cybercrimes and are not in any headspace to implicate any harm to others. Moreover, policy changes that cover cybercrimes are of need in the status quo. Hence, voting representatives that can forward these concerns should be one of our priorities. Lastly, we need to internalize that the internet is an extension of the physical realm and not a separate world. Hence, what we put out online is linked to our quote-unquote physical aspect. I want to personally forward my gratitude to Mix Kavika for a substantial talk. Let us continuously contribute to the efforts of pursuing a much safer online world. Thank you.
And to have our closing remarks, Mr. Mix John Ryan Hakot.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll actually keep this short, and thank you as well to our keynote speaker, Mix Kavika, for having the time to speak to us this afternoon. So I know, anyway, once again, hello and good afternoon, everyone. So this afternoon so far, we have critically engaged with diverse streams of ideas and theories about gender in the digital age. And the first leg, our first leg of providing for a gender-sensitive first response to cases and reports of sexual harassment by learning more about cyber sexual harassment. From the discussion, we realized that the realities and challenges, the gendered risks and vulnerabilities embedded in the rise and evolution of new media and technology, and even in AI, prompt and challenge us to rethink, learn, and evolve in the ways by which we make sure that our spaces, offline and online, are gender inclusive and safe for us all, an environment where there is zero tolerance for sexual harassment. However, at the same time, we also face what Camberidu and Pascal call as a digital skills crisis, characterized by the exclusion of women from the digital market economy and the lack of capacitating measures for women and marginalized groups insofar as digital skills are concerned, skills which would be needed in the effective and community-responsive use of digital tools. This provides for a gender imbalance in ICT and STEM, which are exclusionary barriers that reinforce gender gaps and exacerbate vulnerabilities online. We thus need to develop and capacitate women and ourselves with the responsive digital skills to guide us in navigating the digital terrain and reclaiming our power in technological development and ensure that women and the marginalized in ICT and STEM have agency as technology professionals, leaders, and policymakers, and would thus have a greater stake in the design, use, and production of technology. This is perhaps then a crucial step in achieving the safe digital space that we aspire our space to be. Digital. Together, let us actively promote a culture of zero tolerance for sexual harassment as OASH first responders and create a gender-responsive, a gender-exclusive, safe digital future. Thank you and have a great day, everyone.
Thank you so much for your sharing, Mix Arjo, and for your kind words of inspiration, Mix Hakot. And it cannot be said enough. To our dear speaker, Mix Kavika Singhal, we are humbled by your presence and your generosity with us today. Thank you so much once again. We also thank our participants for their engaging efforts and participation in today's lecture. And please don't forget to input your learnings in the Padlet link. It's once again there in the chat box, which we will send, and we'd also like to reiterate that all contents will be published via our OASH Facebook page tomorrow in celebration of the International Girls in ICT Day 2023. So don't miss it.
Right. And speaking of International Girls in ICT Day 2023, friends, this is only the first part of our celebration of it. To know more about what else is up, also as part of our first responders drill of the OASH or hashtag ASH First 2023, we would like to invite Attorney Archel Nina F. Capistrano, Coordinator, Office of Anti-Sexual Harassment, University of the Philippines, Cebu, in the virtual floor to give us a glimpse, a teaser of the upcoming events.
Thank you very much to our hosts, and thank you very much. It's great to meet you, Kavika, for being here with us and for providing us with much needed input regarding the topic. It's really important that you are with us because you are among those we look up to when it comes to digital skills for life, and that being an anti-sexual harassment first responder, a competent one at that, should begin with digital skills, considering that the risk of sexual harassment has expanded not only offline, but of course, online. I would like to just tease this particular event. As I said, as I've stated already in our chat box, this is just the first of hopefully 3. The second one is going to be this coming May 3rd. That's going to be a whole day thing. But the talk proper of Dr. Attorney Noel Ramiscal is come back. His third lecture is going to be in the afternoon. In the morning will most likely be our hearing pool training for the purpose of really elevating the skills in dealing with as soon as we have complaints, for example, on sexual harassment. And then, of course, the third one will be, unfortunately, not really involve the students, but it will involve for the privileged, those in privileged positions. So hopefully we will have our check your privilege allyship exercise for the heads of units in UP Cebu. That's hopefully by June in observance of the Pride Month. So this coming May 3 is a good segue as we cement our commitment to digital skills for life and as we anticipate Pride Month in June. Thank you very much for being here. This event is, of course, successful, and it will continue to make our special citation in gender mainstreaming in the education sector received by UP Cebu, because we have this and we have people committed to zero tolerance for sexual harassment. Thank you so much. And until the next time we see each other, happy International Girls in ICT Day. Mabuhay tayong lahat.
Thank you so much, Attorney Capistrano. So there you have it, everyone. See you again on May 3. This has been Kylie Baguio
and Vivian K. Santillan, your host for the now concluded webinar,
Navigating the Online World, #AshFirst 2023 in the Digital Age.
Thank you and have a great day ahead.